Chapter 203, I'm going to talk a little bit about layering. Okay, so when we are coming to detail walls, whether they are a sophisticated little arrangement like we've got here, or whether they are simple brick and block with a cavity and some insulation, the things we need to consider are primarily rain screen. Now, the thing with rain screen is it's a screen. It's not necessarily a waterproof layer. So we need to provide backup just in case moisture does penetrate. And it can be that it's wind-driven rain. It'll get through the gaps. It can climb up little narrow gaps through capillary action. And then it'll reach a barrier like this thing here. This is our GORE-TEX jacket. This is the Tyvek or other types of moisture barrier or breather membrane are available. Now this thing will sit over something like this. We also need to have a board of some description, and this oriented strand board is good enough. You can use ply as well in certain situations. And we need this so we can fix things through to it. Because we've got a timber frame behind, we can't necessarily fix wherever we want. So this mesh, which is fixed through this insulation and through the breather membrane onto this is going to hold the mesh in place. Also, the insulation will be fixed back to this thing. Okay, this will also be tacked back to this. So this thing becomes quite a structural element. It also adds stiffness to the frame. So on the inside, we've got a vapor barrier. Now, the debate is raging loudly about vapor barriers. Once upon a time, they were seen to be the savior of walls throughout the world. Now, the technology and the sophistication and the testing has become such that people are starting to think twice about whether a vapor barrier is the right way. Maybe it's better to go back to the old days where we had walls that breathed. Okay, it's all about breathing. The vapor barrier is trying to stop moisture getting through into this part of the wall where potentially it could condense if it's too cold. Okay, but in this case, hopefully we're maintaining some thermal integrity with this wall by having insulation on the outside as well. So we've got decisions to make. If we do get moisture through the vapor barrier, and it can easily get through openings for switches and other lighting fixtures or anything else that's going in the wall. So we've got to be careful. If we do get moisture behind there and we don't have things like inert mineral wool, then potentially that can start to rot or mold can build up on the insulation inside. And as soon as you get sort of damp insulation, then it becomes much less efficient. Okay, so this is the sort of thing you need to consider. Rain screen, insulation, and then stopping moisture potentially getting through from the inside. We might be generating in this space on the inside a lot of water vapor. Okay, it might be from showers, it might be from cooking, it could be from all sorts of different directions. Just people perspiring will give off a lot of water vapor. And if that gets into the fabric of the wall and gets too cold, then we've got a bit of a problem. So venting these spaces becomes very important. The more we seal, the more we need to vent. Okay, and that does then have its other problems. So the more sophisticated we start building these things, the more problems we cause. The only reason we don't build like we did back in the 1800s is simply because we won't put up with the cold anymore. Okay, so that's the reason why we go to these sorts of lengths to create nice looking, thermally efficient dwellings that are hopefully going to last a long time and save money on our heating bills. Okay, so wall layering, very, very important thing to consider. Next, we'll look at the layering of the roof on the roof types, and then we'll consider these things: openings.